Hello, everybody. It is your favorite professor, Professor Goldstein. How is everybody today? It is a great day, and a great day to learn business, and a great day to refresh your mind and watch a video and learn so much about what we're going to talk about today, which is sole proprietorship, which is an interesting term. Sole meaning one, you're the only person. Proprietorship, owning a business, and today we're going to talk about that. Also, I am going to be posting your first super hard, difficult assignment. Yes, it is going to be so hard. It's going to send, and it's going to be due on Monday next week, which is Monday 7 days from today, which is the 21st of March, on a Monday. What I need from you is two typed, double-spaced paragraphs. It should take up about half to three-quarters of a page. You're going to email it to me as an attachment, not put it on Brightspace. No, 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 no. You're going to email it to me as an attachment saying, with your name. So in the paragraph, it's going to say, "Hello, my name is blah, blah, blah." Give me your name. And then in two paragraphs, you're going to tell me about what you know about business. Have you worked at a job? Have you worked at several jobs? Have you never worked at a job, but you're interested in business? Do you have absolutely no interest in business? You want to do something else, and you're going to tell me what that something else is, but you're taking this business class because you need to take a class, and this helps fulfill your requirements, and you're going to do great in this class anyhow, but you're not really interested in business. So tell me if you're a business major. Most of you are business majors. Tell me what you want to do in business. Do you want to be an accountant? Do you want to be working in a financial firm? Do you want to own your own business? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Tell me who you are in two paragraphs. Tell me what jobs you've had, what you've done in those jobs. I worked at Five Guys. I flipped burgers. I worked at, I was a daycare worker. I took care of kids. I cut hair at a barbershop or a beauty parlor. Something like that. Just tell me some of the things that you do. Maybe some of the things that you've learned about business in two paragraphs. Nothing heavy. No heavy lifting. You're going to attach it as a Word document to email and send it to me. Just attach it to the email. Send it to me. Two paragraphs. It's due by next Monday. Not today. Next Monday, the 21st of March. Don't send it to me until the 21st. Don't kind of like send it to me early. Give yourself a couple of days to kind of, work on it. I don't care, if you want to use AI to write this, you're the one who's feeding in the information, do that. Use AI. It'll read better for me. I have no problem with that. You're not cheating by doing that. You're helping yourself. So write a nice two paragraphs, double-spaced, typed, attached to an email, and send it to me on Monday next week about your history in business. What a hard assignment. I know, I'm a slave driver. It's so very, 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 very difficult to be a student in my class. Yes. So that's the only assignment you have. I'm going to post the assignment, but that really is it. It's simple. If you have any questions about it, you really shouldn't have. It's the easiest assignment I've ever given in my life. It's the easiest assignment anyone can. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about yourself and business, okay? Tell me about yourself and what you know about business. That's it. Okay, onward and upward. So we're talking about sole proprietorships, and this is really class numero uno, even though it's class number 3. I've put up a couple of videos that I hope all of you have watched. The last one I put up was about a pizza parlor. That was a sole proprietorship. When I say sole proprietorship, I mean one owner. It could be an owner who has what's called a bricks and mortar business, an actual space, or it could be an owner who has, a law firm, or an owner who is a doctor, or an owner who has his own practice as a doctor and doesn't have any partners, or it could be someone who works on the computer and owns their own business, or anything like that. Is a sole proprietorship. Now, I like to tell stories that bore the hell out of you, but hopefully you learn something from these stories, and I'm going to tell you about my experience working with a sole proprietorship. I work now in a partnership. I have partners in the business I have, and I have 3 partners, 2 of whom are silent, one of whom is active like I am. I'm less active than even this partner, as this partner is very active in the business, and the three of us, the three other partners, well, I'm what's called a semi-active partner, and the other two are silent partners. They don't really work in the business that much. But enough about partnership. Let's go to sole proprietorship. So when I was young, when I say young, in my 20s, I worked at what's called a sleepaway camp. Basically, these are camps for kids. There are camps for kids that don't have, who are poor. There are camps for kids that are middle class, and then there are camps for kids that are wealthy. The camp that I worked at was for upper middle class, wealthy kids. Although poor kids did attend the camp, but they would have to either save or figure out some way to go. And the camp was what's known as a specialty camp, meaning that the camp really was about one thing, and really one thing only. I'm going to tell you what that is as I close my phone. The camp itself, I was what was called the head counselor, and I was enticed to work there. One, as being a head counselor, I worked there for a number of years, which meant that I was in charge of all the counselors. I hired all the counselors. I fired whatever counselors needed to be fired. And I was given really total control over the counselors. The counselors are the people who really look over the kids during the summer. They're the ones who are with them pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, taking care of them, watching out for them. And, the range of kids that we had in the camp was really from 7 to 17. And they were from all over the United States. And the camp was a theater camp. Something probably some of you may have heard of, some of you may not have heard of. We were probably the most famous, and still exists. The camp still is doing extraordinarily well. It was a theater camp in upstate New York. There were, actually at the time, there were about two of them in the United States, two or three of them. There was one in Michigan, there were two in upstate New York that competed with each other, but they were totally different camps. And the camp that I worked at really was just theater. It was not, they did not have, the other camp had musicians and so forth. They had orchestras. We did not have that. We just we did musicals, but we used a piano player. We did not have a full orchestra. And the camp that I worked at as head counselor had extraordinarily talented kids. These kids really were dedicated to theater, and the owners of the camp, really, we're going to talk about the sole proprietorship, were husband and wife. So that really was a sole proprietorship, even though it was a husband and wife that owned the camp. And the husband had been a contractor, really done construction, contracting, and he and his wife loved theater. They loved musical theater. They adored it. So did I, but they even loved it more than I did. And they were able to, they saw their lives. He got, the man, his name was Carl, he got very tired of his life in contracting construction. He didn't see it as very fulfilling. He made a lot of money, but he was not happy. And they met this man in Manhattan. They had taken their grandchildren to a theater program, and this man was the theater teacher, and his name was Jack Romano, a very famous theater director for kids. And he was from Cuba, and he was wonderful and warm and creative, and he treated these kids like they were adults. He treated them as if they were adults, and they appreciated that. I think in the theater it was very important for children to feel like they were being treated with respect and as if they were adults. And he would yell and scream, but they loved Jack because he was honest and he was good and he knew what he was doing. And so Carl and Elsie, the owners of the camp, the one who was the contractor, saw this guy Jack Romano, and they saw this theater program in the city, and they saw how much kids paid, and they saw how much they adored Jack. And so Carl and Elsie, the owners of this camp, decided to go up to Jack and say, listen, we're thinking of buying a summer program, a theater camp, and we'd like you to bring all these kids that you have here to the camp. We'll give you a lot of money to do for every kid you bring. We'll bring you a lot of money, and you can bring the kids up to camp, and we'll hire you, and we'll pay you a lot of money during the summer. And this guy Jack Romano said yes. He actually wanted to be a partner, but Carl Nelson did not want partners at the time. And so, even though he called himself a partner, he was not really a partner in the business. And so they started this camp, and it struggled for a while. It took a while to get more and more kids, and it took a number of years. And when I started there, it was not as huge a success as it later became. But basically, this was the formula. The formula, and I'll talk the business formula. The business formula was that the camp was broken up into 3-week sessions. So it would do, during the summer, it would do three-week sessions. So you could come up for 3 weeks, you can come up for 6 weeks, you can come up for 9 weeks, or you could just come up anytime during the summer just for 3 weeks. And each session, you'd be shocked, you're going to be shocked now, is about, I think it's about $12,000 for 3 weeks. Now, you're saying to yourself, that's insane. That's what college costs. Yes, but it is. It's about $12,000. So if you go up, it's discounted for the 3 weeks, for the 9 weeks, if you stay there for 9 weeks. So let's say it's 36. It might be like 32,000 or 30,000 for 9 weeks. But most kids go up for 6 weeks. Most kids do go up for 6 weeks. And they get about 350 to 400 kids per session. Now, there's a lot of expenses in this camp. I mean, you're talking about $12,000 per camper, about 350 campers every 3 weeks. So you're talking about altogether 700, maybe a little bit more than 1,000 campers during the summer, each paying $12,000 a piece. It's about $12 million. About $12 million gross per summer. So you're paying $12 million. You're making $12 million as a sole proprietorship in a business during the summer now, and what you're spending on the $12 million in terms of salaries, in terms of food, you have to pay 3 meals a day for the kids, snacks. You have to pay for all kinds of theater directors, producers, lighting designers, stage managers, everything else. You have to pay for equipment. You have to pay for insurance. Insurance is extremely expensive for sleepaway camps for kids because, God forbid, something happens to a kid. The insurance company has to cover that. But as a sole proprietorship, $12 million gross per year, let's say half your money is going towards salaries. So $6 million is going towards all the things: food, salaries, insurance, everything else you're spending, transportation, whatever you have to spend on the kids during that 3-week period or that 6-week period or that 9-week period. Basically, you're earning about $6 million for summer, for a 2-month, really 3-month, 2.5-month, 3-month job. I mean, during the year there is work to be done, but it's very quiet during the year. Most of the time you're off. You have other people, you hire people to do, I did the hiring for the counselors. They paid me very well, but it was not like, I was not an owner and so forth. So I got paid a very good salary, but I hired over 140 counselors, 120 counselors for the summer, and they each get paid for the summer, and they get paid well for the summer. But it's part of the business plan, but you're still earning in profit about $6 million a year. Now you have to pay taxes on this. You have to do all these things that, obviously it's not $6 million cash in your pocket, but it's a lot of money. A lot of money for a very simple business plan, a very simple idea, which is the idea that kids like theater, they like Broadway. A lot of them wanted to be stars. A lot of them did become. A lot of the kids who went to Stage Door when I was there, campers, and a lot of the ones afterwards, and a lot of the ones now, they've all gone on to become pretty famous. Not all. Okay, so let me say this. A lot of the campers have gone on to become pretty famous stars. Some of them have not become stars. Some of them just are actors and so forth on Broadway or in Hollywood. And they've done very well, but they're not like big names. But some of them that went to Stage Door have become like the biggest names in Hollywood. And they've gone on to huge movies and so forth and made fortunes. And they come back to Stage Door. They love Stage Door. Stage Door is their home. And there's kind of like almost like a mafia of kids who went to Stage Door who were in Hollywood and on Broadway. They all, once you say I was at Stage Door, it's like, wow, everyone remembers Stage Door. It was a great time. That's the name of the camp, Stage Door Manor. Sorry, I keep saying Stage Door, and I'm not even saying. So what Carl and Elsie did was they took this, they bought an old hotel up in upstate New York, and they refurbished it. They built these theaters. They redid the theaters. They really did a magnificent job. And every year they build new things at the camp. They're having their anniversary this year, and it's a great topic for a sole proprietorship, because what makes a sole proprietorship so important, and this is really the business heart of things, is basically you could do whatever you want with your business. No one could tell you what to do. It's your business. So when Carl would want to build a theater or build a swimming pool or tear down a wall or build a new building or fix all the bathrooms, he didn't have to consult with anybody. He didn't have to turn to a partner, or in a corporation's to a board of directors. You didn't have to ask anybody's permission. You own it. It's your business. You could do whatever you want with your business. It's your business. You want to carry Coca-Cola in your business, you carry Coca-Cola. If you want to carry Pepsi in your business, you can carry Pepsi in your business. It's your business. No one tells you what to do. Now, on the other hand, there's bad things about it's your business. You don't have anybody to rely upon except, he had his wife who did a very good job handling the parents and so forth. But she was not really a partner. She was the owner. The two owners really were married. There was one owner. But there's all kinds of things that you need done that you don't have another partner there. You have to hire people. You have to hire managers and people to do those things if you're not there. Plus, as a sole proprietor, as an owner, you really have to be there all the time, 24/7. It's your business. You're in control of that business. It's always there. So there's pluses and minuses to being a sole proprietor. The worst thing about being a sole proprietor, and I wanted to say this, was, God forbid one of those kids got hurt. Now, obviously, insurance covers a lot. That's why you have a lot of insurance. But they could go after you. Whoever the parents are or whatever, if the kid got hurt, they can go after your home, your property, everything, because you're the owner of the property. You have no protection. Now, we'll talk about partnerships and limited liability corporations later on. There you have protection against people suing you. But as a sole proprietor, you really have no protection. They could have sued. So, God forbid, a kid dies swimming in the pool. He drowns. He or she drowns. And the parents decide to sue. And you have enough insurance to cover up to $1 million for wrongful injury in insurance terminology. But what happens, God forbid, if the parents decide to sue for $5 million and they win? Now, insurance will cover $1 million, but who's going to cover the other $4 million? Well, they're going to come after you. And that might be the end of you. That might be the end of your camp. They might shut down. And a lot of camps, a lot of things like that, a lot of businesses have shut down when people sue. Somebody walks into a store, they slip, they fall, they break their back, they can't go to work anymore. They sue the business. It's a sole proprietorship. I mean, most people don't have sole proprietorships anymore because they're smart enough to know that if they get sued, they're going to lose everything. But there are good things and bad things about the term sole proprietorship. So let's talk about Stage Door for a second. So Stage Door, why did I work at Stage Door? Well, I was promised by Carl. I worked at Stage Door for 7 years, from my 20s into my 30s. Every summer I worked there, and I taught as a professor during the winter, and during the summer I would go up to and I'd be the head counselor at Stage Door, and I loved the job. I really did. I loved the kids. By the way, they put on about 36 shows every 3 weeks. 36 full, complete shows with directors, and my dog is sitting there making noise, directors and lighting and all kinds of incredible costuming and beautiful stuff, and it takes them 3 weeks to put up a show. So they put up about 36 shows because there's so many kids. in all the different theaters, and all the parents and people from the community come and watch the shows, and they're huge, beautiful shows, and I loved being there, and I loved being around the energy of this camp, and I loved the people that work there, and I even loved Carl and Elsie. They were wonderful people, warm, smart, funny. They loved I loved working with them, and I worked with them under the promise that one day Carl said to me, one day you will. I'll give you a percentage of the business and you'll be a partner. I'll give you 10%. Actually, I think it was 10% at the time. And I was like, yeah, this is great. I'm going to work for this business. I'll work hard and one day I'll become an owner here. And then Carl got ill. And Elsie really kind of took over. And Carl was not doing as well. He was still there, but he was not as sharp as he had been before, and they had decided that they were going to turn over the business to their daughter, who had not been in the business at all, who had not done anything, but they owned the business. They could turn it over to whoever they wanted in their family. That's another thing with sole proprietorships is who do you turn your business over to? Does the business end with you, or do you have children, or do you have somebody that you could sell some people sell their businesses? In this case, they decided to turn it over to their two daughters, actually really one daughter, and she was going to come in and learn the business. And apology to me, but sorry, Professor Goldstein, but she doesn't want to have a partner. We're going to turn over the whole business to her, and whatever promises I made to you, we're not going to be able to follow through on them because we're not going to be around anymore, and she really doesn't want you as a partner. Not because she didn't like me. She got along with me fine, but she just didn't want any partners, including me. And so I did not become a partner, and I decided not to stay with I was hurt, and I felt like I had worked for it, and I thought I deserved it. And she was not in the business. She had no interest in the business. I did have an interest in the business, but that's not, she's blood, she's their child. So they gave her the business. Carl passed away, Elsie passed away. She became the head of the business, and the business has done extraordinarily well under her. Much bigger, in fact, under her than was under Carl and Elsie. And by the way, the kids from Stage Door perform on Broadway. They go down to they perform every year in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. They in front of Macy's at the beginning of the parade. They do stuff on Today's Show. They do stuff on TV, on Jimmy Kimmel. They've been on a million as groups. There's a group at the camp. Okay, so I'll explain it. There's a group at the camp that goes around and performs. They're the best kids at the camp for that summer. So it'll be about 50 or 60 kids that are really talented singing and dancing and so forth. And they're called the My Time singers, and they all for the 3 weeks that they're there. Usually you have to be there for 6 weeks in order to be in My Time. They get trained in all these different songs and performances, and they do this whole show, really tremendous show. It's about 20 minutes the show, but it's really well done, and they go all over the country and they do it. During the summer, they'll go to a hotel, they'll go someplace, like Atlantic City, and they'll do the My Time, and then they go back to camp. In terms of sole proprietorships, in terms of businesses, we're going to be talking about sole proprietorships for another class also, but I want you to get an understanding that there's good things and bad things about owning your own business. One is, you're really responsible for everything. But you also have the same ability to do things that quickly and without asking others and without having to think of others that you could never do unless you were a sole proprietorship. And with a sole proprietorship, you could always hire people to do a lot of the heavy lifting that you don't want to do. And when I say heavy lifting, I mean in terms of taking on more work. So like in my case, I did a lot of the work for Carl and Elsie because they hired me. They paid me as an employee. I did all the hiring of the counselors. So basically I did the interviewing. I contacted them. I got them on the phone. I would go to meet with them. I would hire all the people during the summer. So all the counselors during the summer. I didn't hire the directors and the lighting designers and so forth. But some of these people would do both jobs. They'd be counselors and do both. But that's another story. But I would hire the people who would take care of the kids. And that was a lot of people, and that was a big responsibility because you have to go through their backgrounds and you have to know if they're trustworthy, and you don't want to hire people who are not good to be around children. And they have to have a police report, we have to do a police background check on them. But it was also a lot of work during the year hiring these people. And then once I was up at camp, I was in charge of all these people. So I was the one who really, no one else, I was the one who told them what to do. I was the one who trained them. I was the one who dealt with them on a daily basis, told them where they needed to be. I was the one who would reprimand them if they did not do well, if they weren't doing well. I was the one who ultimately had to fire people if they weren't doing well or they did something wrong. And you're around kids, so you have to make sure that they're doing everything right. So it was I had a huge job, and plus I dealt with everybody else at the camp. I was, senior management at the camp, and I had to deal with all sorts of people at the camp. So there's all kinds of things that go into being a sole proprietor. You have to hire good people. And there were some really great people that worked there when I worked there. There were some people who were not so good. But there were some really tremendous people who knew their jobs, especially on the theater side. They were very, very good at what they did, and they brought a lot of love and joy and enthusiasm into their jobs. And that made a great place, a great atmosphere. So it was a great place to work. I really did love it, and I learned a lot about it. I learned a lot about business from it that I still to this day carry on. Carl was a very good mentor at the time. When he was healthy and so forth, he really knew he had owned a business before, then he had become a camp owner, but he was extraordinarily knowledgeable about, you would never know it, he was kind of goofy, but he was extraordinarily knowledgeable about business. And he saw this business, how he saw this business, I never know, because he really was an innovator. He came up with really the idea of this kind of theater camp and really turned it into a success. So I give him a lot of credit. And he saw that there were so many kids that really wanted to become performers and loved theater and wanted to be involved in theater. So he had that idea, that aha moment, that great moment of, what you guys can do also with a business. You can come up with an idea and carry that idea on and then turn it into a business. You could see something and say, hey, there's something people want there, and I could turn that into a business and make it a successful business. And that's what he did. He saw that. Listen, he made an investment. He bought an old hotel. He redid it. He found people who could bring kids to that hotel, and he started a business. And I'm not sure he made money the first 2 or 3 years that he was there, maybe even the first 4, because he put a lot of money into it. So it takes a lot of money to make a lot of money, so he had to put a lot of money in before he was able to take any money out. And I don't think he made any money the first couple of years that he was in the business. So he had to take a chance, and it was like a dream for him and his wife, and he could have failed, and then he would have walked away, having lost a lot of money. So that's the end of the class for today. And you have your assignment for next Monday, and I will talk to you guys for the next class. Have a great day. Shut it off.